Good afternoon, folks. We are live here again at the Afterdark studio. Another episode of the Afterdark Spotlight, episode 2, featuring none other than Warren Nichols.
What's going on, guys?
So you guys may have heard his name all around town. He's one of those guys that plays with about 25 different bands and can jump right in and do the work that needs to be done. But also, you've probably heard, if you've been on my Facebook in the last, how long you been doing session stuff here? 12, 15 years?
About 10 or 11 years.
About 10 or 11 years.
About 11 years.
So you've probably seen on my Facebook, hey, we got Warren Nichols in here working on, some of my stuff, working on different client stuff. He's going to tell you a little bit about his background, about his music, things that he does, how you can find him as far as his music, if you want to listen to his music. And then if you want to hire him, he's going to tell you some things about that. So he's open for hire. So an amazing keyboard player. When people say keyboards, they think, oh, he plays piano, organs. Like, no, if you know him and have seen him play, he plays that thing. You know what I mean? So I guess let's just start and tell people how'd you get into music and start playing? And we'll give like a little brief background and then just go up from, we have, 30, 45 minutes. So we'll try to fit as much information as we can in here about how you got started and what you're doing today and how people can find you to play with you. And we also want to know some of the people that you've played with, because people they're like, man, that name sounds familiar. But if you mention a band name, oh, I remember him. You know what I mean? So just anything that you, want to start with, if you want to start with, how you got into music and stuff like that.
How I got into music, gosh, I've been playing my whole life, so that's a hard question to answer. How I got into maybe performing live might be a little easier to address.
Okay.
I performing recitals as a kid and doing all that stuff. We'll kind of skip all that and go to my foray into rock and roll as an adult. So I actually was a music teacher primarily through my 20s. And I dabbled in a couple of different bands, but didn't really do anything heavy until late 20s, early 30s, when I kind of changed gears and shifted into more of a mindset of I'd really like to go perform live. I've spent a lot of time educating kids and having some fun with occasional gigs, and got to write some original music and put an album out with a band when I was doing that. But at some point, I was like, I really love doing this. I want to kind of go on the road and learn the ropes and do what other people, I guess, usually do when they're like 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
So hung up my teaching robes and kind of got started. And really, this area here with the Afterdark studio here in Bartow County is where I sort of made my first major push into it. I guess what it was, I really went out to a couple little open mics and a couple open jams in the area, and a lot of the musicians in this area are very receptive and open to playing with new people, and that was really encouraging. So I could take, a lot of my book learned knowledge and some of my practice band knowledge, but start putting it to test with sort of an ever-changing group of musicians. Mm-hmm. At the time, there was a lot of Southern rock about 11, 12 years ago around here, a lot of really great kind of Allman Brothers and Skynyrd-style bands. So I was challenged at the time to lend a sort of a keyboard hand that I wasn't used to at the time. I guess I came from a more classical and sort of a pop music background, and these guys were like, well, we want a little bit of honky-tonk soul, while we're over here wailing on guitars. Yeah. So learning to sort of communicate with other musicians who play on other instruments and exploring through new avenues of music that I'd always loved my whole life, sort of has led to me getting to perform, but in a community sense. Mm-hmm. There's been so many wonderful people around here that have enabled me to actually build an entire brand based on my ability to, I guess, improvise and sort of mold what I need to fit to who I'm playing
Exactly. Well, that's one thing that I was going to mention too. If you didn't, Cartersville, if you know the Cartersville music scene, everybody, Rome has their circle and music. Cartersville has it, Marietta has it, and Carrollton has it. But when I first started working with Warren in the studio, the first band, do you remember the first band?
Melon Funky, I do believe, was the first one, wasn't it?
Well, Whiskey Dixie.
Did we record here first? Or with
yes.
Whiskey Dixie?
Yes.
I thought Scott beat Whiskey Dixie to the punch.
Well, was that, okay, I can't remember. It may have been Melon Funky and then Whiskey Dixie, but like I said, those both of those two, like I said, you might recognize some of those bands. But like the cool thing about you that I've learned over the period of years, because if you've been playing in music circles, wherever it's been, you'll learn that there's musicians that can like jump in and say, hey, tell me the key, tell me what songs. You can call them the night before and say, man, can you play this gig tomorrow? We got 40 songs here. I'll send them to you. Can you do these tomorrow? And you're going to find there's going to be a circle of people that says, yeah, man, I'll do that. We've been doing that. And you got some people's like, no, man, I got to practice and I got to learn the songs and got to do. So it's a whole different ball game as far as like, what we do. And that's one thing I learned about you is when you came in the studio, a lot of times when I do sessions, I'll send people if I'm, and it's good if I say, hey, I'm going to send you an MP3 or something to listen to so you can get some ideas. But sometimes we get in the studio and I'm like, oh yeah, let me show you this other song while we're here. And then we just end up jumping into some different song and stuff like that. So he automatically, not only his keyboard and his when I say keyboard, like piano and organ instincts kick in, he also has a producer side. That's an awesome, because many musicians don't have that. They can play their instrument and stuff, but when you're creating a song, there's a whole lot of difference between people's like, oh, I want to record my song. There's a difference in like recording a song and saying, hey, I bought me an iMac or a computer. I'm going to record an album. People don't realize there's a difference in making recordings and like making an album. You know what I mean? It's they don't realize what goes into it. So that's what I like about Warren. A lot of times I can bring him in here and say, hey, while you're here, will you do this? And he's like, oh, people's like, oh man, that's great. You know what I mean? So he has, and keep that in mind if you go to hire him for, studio sessions or live gigs. You can look over and be like, hey, man, do you have this sound or do something? You're going to find something, and I think you'll be very happy with that. That's why I've been using it for, like I said, 10 or 12 years, and a bunch of artists have used them. And I would name a few, but this is about Warren Nichols' music today. We'll tell you about those bands later and stuff like that. But like I said, believe me, he can do what you need to do. And like I said, I'm just glad to have you accessible here because because people see me. I do like my little minor stuff like that my Richard Marks and my Journey. But when I tell these clients, you need a real keyboard player to come do this organ, so I call Warren and stuff like that. So what are some of the bands that I say we're not going to name these bands, but some of these bands that if people's like, man, I don't know if I know Warren, I recognize him, but he looks familiar or something like that. What are some of the bands that you've just and hey bands, we're going to give y'all some free exposure right here. And I'm going to get him to name a few bands that he's played with and filled in, and you're like, oh, I knew I'd seen that guy because he plays anywhere from. He's like me. He's from one in the morning he might be in Cartersville, and the next day he might be at Lake Lanier somewhere 2 hours away or something like that. So
I'm gonna kind of do what we said. We'll do some band shout outs. Put them on my reading glasses because I've got a bit of a list. So I'm gonna rattle off of things. You mentioned Whiskey Dixie, and that's one of my original claims to fame. It's not a band that's around anymore. Although the lead singer Hunter Blaylock, or he's going by a whole new name now, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's making a little scene.
Hunter, and he's still continued on his way and with a lot of his own original music. But we began as Whiskey Dixie, and we had some really beautiful kind of mountain music, and we've still some of our music is still out there on YouTube. If you go hunt it down, just look for Whiskey Dixie. The Sun is the Moon. There's some really good songs I'm very proud to be a part of there. And so that's kind of been the beginning journey, and I still kind of consider that an initial claim to fame because we took me all over the United States. But some of the other bands recently too. Here I've recorded with bands in the past. A great album by Melon Funky. I've done some work for David Garrett Arnold, who's been one of your guests. A lot of work for David Garrett Arnold, actually. He's got some crazy ideas, and he's put me to work. And then some of the more recent bands I've played with that have been on the road would be Georgia Red Clay, which they've actually been around for some time, but over the last few years post-COVID, they brought me on board, and we played a lot of classic country and enjoyed some really good honky-tonks. We're actually playing at the Hummingbird down in Macon coming up later this month. So they're a really great band, getting some fun places. I've joined up with the Atlanta Wedding Band in recent years to do more corporate work with like weddings and stuff, but that's been really fantastic, full of awesome players, and really enjoyed that. I play with a number of country artists from around here. They would be Isaac Streetman Band from time to time, or the Brett Black Band, or I've played with Britt Nix and the Four Roses. Yeah. I've got a huge list here. Maybe I won't list them all off, but I'll post them on my website if you'd like to go see those credits. I've even sat in with your band once.
You have it, and it goes to show that he can play rock, he can play country, he can play honky tonk. When you get in with the Atlanta Wedding Band, that's no joke, man. You're playing Daryl Hall notes, and you're playing this stuff that's like
they put me to work.
And that's the part where if he needs to study something. he can study and get it and show up. Because like I said, I've looked at some of the Atlanta wedding rehearsal stuff, and I'm like, I've been playing for 30 years. I'm like, man, I'm not cut out for that. I'm not polished enough for that. But it's a whole different thing. But it's amazing. It's amazing stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. With I do definitely pride myself on my improvisational ability, especially like to in live shows kind of focus on my favorite instrument and like play a piano and incorporate a lot of organ and stuff that I layer in there. But if we need to, I'll sit down and then it's we got to take it to the shed and learn what needs to be there in the part, because oftentimes it's like you're saying, it's not just about the part that you can play on your instrument. It is about the orchestration. It's how you weave everything together to really create beautiful music. I think that's something the Afterdark studio has really shows a pride in, is like a lot of the music that you produce here has a lot of really amazing weaved parts that sometimes you yourself have come up with, or sometimes it's like a little corporate group of musicians will come together and all lend their vegetable to the soup.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like we just worked on was it Izzy Burlew, and she just did she came in and did. She called it a project. It was her first time doing it to get her feet wet. And then the next time she made an album. So that's, she said that was my first. But she brought Warren in as keyboard and kind of instructor, but as producer and stuff like that. So, and it's neat when you've got somebody, with another brain. A lot of times when people come in, I get paid. They said, okay, you're our engineer. We don't need a producer. We know what we want to do. I'm like, okay, I'm fine. I'll record you. If you get thirsty, holler. I'll bring you some oatmeal pies or whatever you want to do. And they've got their production side worked out. But then I'm sitting back here as like, man, I sure do hear some stuff, but I got to keep my zipper open here. But then sometimes they'll ask, what do you think? Do you hear anything? And I'm like, did you just unlock that door? Do you really want to know? So that's one thing about Warren. Like I said, it's just he has some great ideas, not just musically with his keyboard, but I'm talking about vocally. I mean, when you listen to my music, David Garrett Arnold's music, you're gonna hear Warren's playing. You're gonna hear his voice too. I mean, there's multiple songs that you've sang harmonies on and stuff like that. So you're to me just an all around good utility guy for live or the studio and stuff like that. So I think any band that has you, whether it's filling in or trying to snag you full time or something like that, it would be a good investment and stuff like that. Because like I said, you're just a great player, and people ask me all the time. David Arnold says, "Why don't you hire Warren to play in your band?" I says, dude, do you know how much I'd love to have a keyboard player in my band? He's like, all the 80s that you want to do. And I says, but you know what venues pay, and it's like, it's just like having to pay somebody else and stuff like that. And it's just so venues, if you want to raise your pay in 2026, so I can hire him. You want to see this guy on stage with us again? But no, it's been brought up several times. I told Adam, I said, man, I'd love to hire him, because we could there's so many things that we could do that that's if you know me, I love the 80s and 80s is keyboard oriented, whether it's hair bands or pop synth stuff, you know what I mean? So, but we'll see. Maybe I'll hit the lottery one day or something. Or if this After Dark spotlight, if I get called if like Howard Stern or somebody wants to co-host it or something and sponsor me $500,000, I'm gonna do that. But so as far as where people can find you, we're gonna list the links and stuff where you can find his music, where you can get in touch with him. But what are some of the platforms that we've been talking about what he does for other bands and stuff? So you have your own original music, not just stuff that you've played on. Like I said, I know we've been talking about everybody that you've played for and helped, but you have your own stuff as well.
That's right. A lot of stuff that we've actually recorded here, and some stuff I'm really proud of as well, especially when it comes to orchestration and how we've put it together and who was involved in those recordings. You can find most of my original stuff by looking at my name, Warren Nichols, or my company, WNME, on all the major music platforms, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, so on and so forth. And there's some extra stuff on YouTube that I've uploaded as well. But a couple of particular songs I'd like to point out, something that we had worked on many years ago that was sort of a community project to bring in some upcoming and young singers and kind of put them on something, was a song called Be There. And Donnie and I put a lot of time and effort into to creating something that had a real big, awesome choral sound with strings and layers, and maybe we'll play a little clip of that or something. That was a project I'm really proud of, because we had a kind of a small choir here in the studio as well, and so everyone lent a part, and we kind of directed them through it and put it all together, and came up with something that I feel like had a real big cinematic kind of feel to it, or in more recent years, we put together a little country ballad called "The Little Things," which I had Isaac Streetman actually sing the vocals for that one. But still, we had some favorite friends of ours, Brandon Wilson, who's a lead guitar player for the Betting on the Mule band, who also plays in my wife and I's local cover band, Rollin Sevens, who play lead for us as well. So he's a really good friend. He came in and lent his guitar expertise. Jacob Parker, who has recorded gospel tunes here at the studio, came in and played some mandolin on that album. And Isaac, of course. And anyway, it's a really great little ballad that I'm proud of, just because we had a great team of people. When we were here in the studio, it wasn't just me telling them what to do. Everyone sort of had a say, and we debated on how we should put it together and how we should orchestrate it. And in an afternoon of about 7 or 8 hours, we had fleshed out what I think is a decent country song.
That was an amazing song.
I've actually written another one that I'd like to get to work to. That it's a bit of a gospel tune, and then I've got another one that's that might be fun. There's a little bit of homage to the Allman Brothers. So I've got some stuff that along those vibes that we'll continue to work with, and I'll be excited to bring some more of these great musicians in to help with. And I think that's where the magic comes from, is us all working together.
Yeah. Speaking of Be There, so if you go to YouTube, what's that listed under like if they go for that video?
They should be able to find it just by searching "Be There" by Warren Nichols. I went back and made sure that you could find my name.
That
I think,
song,
or WNME. I my company name, I put that on as well.
Yeah. So be sure to go search that. To me, if you're old enough to remember "We Are the World" and that video and all the people singing, you see, and all the stars that you could imagine, and everybody getting their parts and stuff. When he brought that song, I was like, and I know you released it, and it's kind of been a minute, and it may be something that you bring back out, because I don't think that song got it. It didn't get what it needed. That song to me was as and people might say you're crazy, but I think it was as good as "We Are the World." But it was one of those songs. It was togetherness song about be there, and like I said, and if you watch the video, you're gonna see that it was like it's like, oh man, and instead of having Lionel Richie and Willie Nelson and all these people, it was like Scott Turner and Isaac Street, all the local celebrities and stuff.
Aspen Lee. It was a cool little get together.
Yeah, but like that song, man, it was just amazing. The whole day, like I said, we were here 7 hours like that. But the whole day, even though it was boom, 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 we got to work and got to do this, it was like a fun filled and like joy and like just a day full of love. It was just because there's I work with so many bands, and some bands get stressed out and can't do their parts, and then they want to throw stuff and get in on this. Like, but when you work when you do a session, you do a song like that, everybody's like, oh yeah, and it's just like just a big it's just a room full of love. You're like, man, this feels good. Why can't everything be like that? But like I said, just check that out. It's called Be There. But like I said, we'll put some links to so they can find all your music on like all the social media platforms everywhere that
Yeah, most of the songs I've distributed via DistroKid, which puts all the music out on all the digital platforms. So there's a number of various tunes. The stuff I've released is pretty eclectic. And I've also got, since I'm running a small company called WNME, Warren Nichols Music Enterprise. That's also, you can find that on Facebook as well, and find me on social media that way. While I'm a public performer and do studio sessions and write songs and hire out as a keyboard player, I try to give back to the community by helping kind of network and pull people together for what they need it. And I don't charge for those kinds of services that I do for my friends. That's my way of sort of giving back to the community, to try to promote live music and promote live performances of live music. I think that's a vital part of our industry and keeping the art alive. And that being said, so if you go look for Warren Nichols Music Enterprise or WNME for the recordings, you'll also see a couple of other artists that I've released under that informal distribution label. Although most of that work has been, much of that work has been edited or done through the Afterdark studio. So my own stuff is fairly eclectic. I guess like some of my songs have been a little bit more commission type work where I had a vision in mind, and I've got some stuff where I was like, hey, I painted this, I want to hang it on the wall for you to look at. So you can go listen to it, and maybe you'll like some of it, maybe you won't. I'll keep producing some new things. And,
I think they will, because like I said, when you bring stuff, and that's one cool thing about working with you in the studio. is like I had bands come in. It's like, okay, they're a rock band. We're gonna record 4 or 5 songs, and it's gonna be a rock record and a country record. And then like, hey, I've got this song, and I was like, I'm anxious to hear it because I never know sometimes, and it could be something that's pop. Like the other day, I was going through my iTunes and I was trying to organize stuff because I've got just like years and years of people's songs that I've just like saved in my computer, and some that I've got guys in there. I was like, I don't even remember this guy recording. I don't even know who this was. It was like really, really good stuff. And I'm like, who was Seth and who is this? And like I said, I don't like I said, I don't even remember who these guys were, but they recorded here because it was in there. But there was a song I came across that you did, and I guess you did it here. Is it called Why?
Why Should I Try?
Should I try?
Oh yeah, Jacob Parker and I co-wrote that song.
Yeah. And it's like
a soul tune. It's different.
It's very soulful. And I was like, yeah, this is groovy. And I was like, I didn't remember. And then you got the different stuff that you go and experiment with keyboard parts and do, like I said, 80s and synthes type stuff. So I think it's, and people ask me that a lot because like if you go to look at my distro kit or like on my music, there's going to be country songs, there's going to be rock songs, there's going to be pop songs, there's like I'm all over the place, and people's like, what are you, a country? It's like, so one thing, this was, and I know it's all about ratings and stuff, but I went to The Voice and I think it was 2017 or 18, I can't remember one of the others. Anyway, so there was like 30,000 people down there, and I knew I wasn't. People was like, you need to go to The Voice. I was like, dude, no, I don't. I was like, they're like, oh, you can sing like a bird. I was like, I understand that, and you think I can sing and everything's good, and I'm thankful that I can make a living, and some people like it. I says, but me as a musician, a singer, you watch YouTube and you hear and you're like, okay, I don't belong in the void. You know what I mean? It's just, and I knew personally, but I just went to like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I'll shut them up, and do it. So I get down there and there's people on the street singing, and I'm looking at my wife like, you ready to go? Because I knew, I was like, there's no chance, and and I wasn't expecting anything. I didn't stop by out there on the bridge and want to jump off because I didn't make it, because I didn't have any plans to make it. But anyway, we go in there and stuff like that, and we get in line. They tell us you have to be there at 7 a.m. Keep in mind, this is in the middle of like November, December. 35, 40 degrees. They're like, this was Atlanta. Like, you have to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning. But your roll call may not be till 5 or 6 o'clock that afternoon, or it might be at 10 o'clock, and you just have to wait in line. So we're out there waiting in line. I've got a good supportive wife, so we're out there freezing together and stuff like that. Anyway, so after 4 or 5 hours, we get in, and they said, well, we've looked at your music catalog, and you seem indecisive. I says, what do you mean? They says, well, you got a country song, you've got a rock song, you've got a blues song, you've got a gospel song, you've got pop. They're like, what kind of artist do you want to be? I says,
what do you want to be when you grow up?
So I said, you want me to be honest with you? She said, yeah. I said, whatever you pay me to do. I says, if you go, because I said, if you want to pay me to be a country artist, I look dumb, but I can put, I'll try a cowboy hat, but I'm saying I can sing. I says, but if you want me to be in the Backstreet Boys, I'll be in there to make some recognition, to make some money, and then I'll do what I want to do. And she says, well, it just seems you're just indecisive and you don't know what you want to do. And I says, but do you not see that as, wow, this guy can like do all this multiple stuff? Wouldn't I be an asset to something other than being indecisive? Why would it be indecisive? Why is it not, man, he's creative. He can just do whatever. And I said, because when you turn on the radio, I turn on, South 107 and I'm expected to hear a country song and Beyonce's on. Wait, this is Star 94? No, it's so I was like, I said, I don't see what you're saying. I said, I see what you're saying about I can do different stuff. It looks like that would be an asset. And they're like, well, the next question, have you had any tragedy? I was like, what do you mean? Like, well, what's your life been? I was like, well, I own a recording studio. I gig like 7 and 8 nights a week. Things are great. I love my life. I'm like, I grind, I work hard. They're like, but any tragedy or anything? I was like, no, I haven't. I was like, oh, I see where you're going. I was like, you want me to be one of those guys that tell you that I lost everything or sold everything to get here? I was like, dude, I'm like 35 minutes up the street. You know what I mean? I said, yeah, my grandma died. I mean, people died that I loved. I says, but Okay, I said, man, I didn't meet the ratings. I said, so I'm too versatile, and I don't have a story. I've been blessed and have a good life, and I don't have anything to tell you. I said, well, if I come back next year, I'm gonna make up some stuff, man. And I said, I'm gonna, if I look homeless when I come up here, just try to get on the TV. Like y'all forgive me because y'all said I just had too much going for me, or whatever. But it's amazing how they do, because if you have things in order and if you're stable, it's like we can't work with it. We need something that's ratings that people's going to go, oh my God, I feel so sorry for that guy. But it is what it is. But like I said, and that's one thing I look at you when you come in here when I find somebody as versatile as you, I look at it as like, man, this is like something valuable. Versus somebody that's like, well, I'm a one-trick pony. That's all I can do. And it's just, I can come in. Can you play on this country song? Or, I got somebody that needs some Stevie Wonder claving over or something. Can you do it? And he can do it all. So,
oh gosh, sometimes I feel like a one-trick pony being a keyboard player. I've met keyboard players who are awesome guitar players and drummers and saxophone players on top of being great keyboard players. But I guess that's maybe kind of what you're talking about a minute ago. There's like we all do have our place and what we really excel at. And I feel like I have my voice through my keyboard playing, and I can really express myself and do good for other people and contribute. So it's what I do. I grab onto what I got.
You do it, and people know it. They like when you. Oh man, dude! Did you see Warren Nichols? Man, he was just like all over. He's killing it. And then and like I said, and I do some keyboard stuff for some people, and then
I think you're a fine keyboard player. If you guys haven't heard some of Donnie's originals that he plays keyboard on, he's got some really emotional lines. But
it's like all the Journey and Air Supply. But I'm like,
Air
man,
Supply,
yeah. Just all says. But I need some jamming and some stuff like that. I'm like, I got to call Warren and stuff like that. So and it's funny, like speaking of David Garrett Arnold, he knows when. Well, yeah, you can go ahead and do the piano on this. I know what you can do. You know what I mean? You can hold a note on the organ. That's all it needs is a bed. Yeah. But then there'll be sometimes he's like, hey, can you text Warren? And I'm like, what's up? I know what's up. It's like something that's going to be above my pay grade that I can do. But.
Yeah, I guess I don't always necessarily play keyboard the right way for. There's a right way. If you listen to a lot of recorded music, and I don't always do it the right way, but I got a little fire in me, and I let that fire burn and see what happens with it. And Jerry Lee Lewis did it; he did fine.
I love it, man. Like I said, I love the spontaneous part of it, and things that you can do on the fly, and when you're called by somebody, hey, can you do this? Sure, I'll be there. And then and if you go see the band, or if you go see him play, you're like, how long you guys been playing together? First show since about 8 o'clock, And like I said, he can fit in with anybody and stuff like that. So, like I said, if you're looking for a keyboard player, organ, and like I said, I just keep saying keyboard, but there's many more sounds, on the keyboard than a piano and strings and organ and stuff like that. I mean, there's,
If you got some Ivories, I'll tickle them.
Yeah. Or if you got some Thompson twins, you know what I mean? He can pull up those synths and stuff like that. But anyway, so like I said, just appreciate you coming by. So what we're going to do is we're going to be posting some of his links and stuff like that where you can find him as far as his music and listen to some of that and support us. Well, what we're doing this After Dark Spotlight for is to support local music. Like I said, it's 99 cents to download a song, and a Starbucks coffee is like $6 or $7. You know what I mean? So it's just, you could get 6 songs that last you forever versus that cup of coffee that's gonna, you're gonna drink it. It's gonna be good, you know what I mean? And the Starbucks, if you're out there, if you want to sponsor us, hey, we're open to it. But
and come see us play live, because like that those are your memories that'll last forever. Like
it is, like I said,
we perform live a lot, and we entertain. You entertain. He entertains like 6-7 gigs a week minimum, and like that's the magic. If you really want the magic in music, you got to come see us make it in the moment, because that's where that's the gold.
And one cool thing, and like I said, we're gonna have his wife on here too. I started to get them on the same thing because they do some projects together, but I wanted her to have her own thing because even though she's the wife and they have the Rollin Sevens you do together, she has a whole plethora of bands and artists that she fills in playing bass and stuff like that and singing. So we'll have her on here, and she can tell you some stuff, about that too. But anyway, so we appreciate you coming. So like I said, we're gonna at the end of the show here, we're going to post his links where you can find his music and where you can find him if you need him to play. And we appreciate you, Warren Nichols.
Yeah, thanks, Don. Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah. You have a great day.
trophy crown or dollar sign that could cause me to deny. It's the little things, it's more than long white gowns and diamond rings. It ain't on Friday nights, life's cold drinks.
Thank you for tuning in to the After Dark Spotlight. We want to give a shout out to our sponsors for this episode. Today we have the local dive bar located at 120 South Erwin Street in Cartersville, Georgia. And they have a saying that they're the best bar in the world, and it's a special place to be. They have food and drink specials each week, poker, live music every week. So there's plenty to do, whether it's during the week or it's a weekend. So go check them out for some great food and drinks. That's the local dive bar in Cartersville, Georgia. Check them out on all social media. And then we have Countryside Landscaping. So from grass to hardscapes, the most dependable and reliable landscaper there is. And whatever you need, he can do it. He's Landon Mulkey, he has the most affordable rates as well. So with summertime coming up too, you want to get those yards looking pretty. And then with it being wintertime now, if you've got some dead stuff that needs to be trimmed up to get your yard looking good, he can do it. That's Landon Mulkey at Countryside Landscaping, and you can reach him at 770-710-4981. So we thank him for helping keep our some of our clients' yards and everything looking great. So, and then our final sponsor is DSHC. That's Double Spur Hat Company. They're located in the big state of Texas. They're an upcoming company, and they're putting out some absolute fantastic hats, clothing, and they also do some custom items. So you can reach them at 512-995-8102, or you can find them at linktree.com/Double Spur Hat Co. So reach out to them. Like I said, if you like some Western wear, and they have a slogan that they're bringing Jesus back into the Western world. So support a company that has some good morals and is going to have you some good looking shirts and hats. So we thank you all, Double Spur Hat Company, Countryside Landscaping, and the local dive bar. Thank you, and have a great day.
Got the blues. Yes, I do. It's like I can't be satisfied. You're